Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. So now the black people in the audience, now you know your origin? Amazing. This is on. But, so 7 minutes, and with that 7 minutes, the next, and that's why the Mormons, when they come to you, it's so easy to start with that. They come to you, have you heard of the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints? Yeah, absolutely. Aren't you the one that believe that, that God used to be a human and lived on earth and will become gods? And they immediately look down. And then, the high point and low point. You come with the low point, you come with the high point. So the minute someone that tells they're ashamed of it, you start to invite them to Islam. So instead of them giving you that, you use that. So when they're in that state of shame, you're the one now giving the talk. You're the one giving the da'wah. Don't be the one who is the mad'u. Someone with this belief system is giving you that. But let's see here. Wrote something else here. Someone asked me a question. I said I'm going to mention it to him. Okay, someone asked also. Yeah, that was one question. There was another question. Yeah, great. The question was about effeminate men. Effeminate men. They're not gay or anything. They're just effeminate. They have loose joints. The wrist falls freely. Sometimes some of them use women's cologne and things like that, but they're not gay or anything like that. In Sudan, for example, a lot of cooks are effeminate. Most of the time, the cook is just talks like a woman, uses a woman's perfume, but is not gay. Doesn't feel affection for men or anything like that. They're just effeminate men, and they used to exist also at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Just a guy is just a softy, very soft, and likes the company of women and so on and so forth. They don't necessarily fall into the category of gays, unless they start doing that kind of activity and become gay. But also there's also like and it's not gay. That's why when they try to argue, there's something called Klinefelter syndrome, which is basically, as you know, the male has 2 X chromosomes. The female has 2 X chromosomes, and the male has an X and a Y. So this is a genetic disorder where they have 2 X's and a Y. So XXY. So they've got XX, which is to make them female, but they've got an XY. This is the kind of person that you see who genetically was born like this, and you might see a man/woman, like someone with Klinefelters. They will have, let's say, male hands, like hairy hands, big fingers, and then they'll have like mammary glands, let's say, and then they'll have something male and something female, and you might be confused. And they're not someone who went through an operation or tried to change or anything like that. They were just born like that. So if you ever find someone trying to use that as an argument to say, look, it's genetic, they're not gay, these people. They just have both genes, and their personality will be one or the other. I interviewed one person who had Klinefelters, and he was a male, and he was married, and he was taking other hormones to just keep the feminine physical part suppressed. But he was actually a male, and he had and sometimes it's the opposite. It's a woman, but then she's got the man hands or the hair and stuff or something like that. It has nothing to do with gays, so they're not gay. Yeah, Shiraz?
I forgot which one it is, either transvestite or transsexual. The one who is naturally they have their genitals are, it's like a mix of male and female. What about them?
What about them as far as their ruling, or did they classify as gay?
They're ruling.
The ruling in the hereafter, or the ruling is like as far as going to men's rooms or the women's restrooms? Yeah,
like what would they be considered here, and can they marry and things like that?
Uh-huh. Well, you know what? I've never looked that up actually. I've not encountered anything like that. So has anyone looked that up in like Islam QA or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. It's also about the concept, right? people, like some of them, like they're actually like sexually not active, right? So it was like halal for them to like walk onto women, who don't wear hijab, and the ruling is that
the effeminate man, yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually.
I was talking about trans.
The transvestites, and they have the option to choose like which sex they actually want to be, and they can take like which hormones they want. They can have surgery if they want. That's all halal.
Okay, I'm still confused. Not that you didn't explain one, but look, let's just do this. Let's move on. And the people, because I'm not sure where we're talking about. There might be an effeminate man, and he's just a male who's effeminate. He doesn't have the right to change, and to go through operation to try to become a woman. And if that does happen, is he allowed to enter the women's restroom? He would be probably allowed, because he's an effeminate man, to enter upon women more so in a way than the male would be allowed. Because at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a man who was effeminate, and he used to sit and talk with the women. The Prophet ﷺ allowed him because he was effeminate. But then, when the Prophet ﷺ realized that the man pays attention to female physique, the Prophet ﷺ said he would not enter upon women again. So he made a description, so he's actually one of those who looks at the woman physique, even though he was effeminate. So the Prophet ﷺ forbade him to sit with the woman after that. Then because now, the world is so mixed up. We've got some really, really extreme cases. A friend of mine was telling me about his boss, who used to be a male. It doesn't get worse than this. He was a male, went through operations and hormones and surgery and became a female, and then became a lesbian. And he went back to liking women. Could have stayed a man and liked women. It just doesn't get worse than that. So, obviously, that's beyond me, those kinds of things. I don't know how to answer that. I would look it up Islam QA, or I'd harass Sheikh Walid Basuni or something like that. Okay, Salah. So we said Allah does not need us to worship Him, but Allah says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So someone might ask you, well, why did He even command us to worship Him? So can you explain that? Why should we worship Allah then? Sure, He commanded us, I understand that. But why did He even command us to do that? Yes, sir.
Because He created us.
So can He just create us and we don't have to pray?
To be thankful for what He has given us.
Can I be thankful without praying? I'm not saying it's a valid argument. Yeah?
Because we need it.
Because we need it. That's true. And that was true, Umar, and that was true as well.
I wanted to see which of His creations are obedient to Him and which ones are not.
Okay, so you can link it to obedience and disobedience. Yes, sir?
What do you do when there are bad times? You go back to worship God, right?
Okay.
So what the assessment of what the person does.
All right. So in the bad times, it's something you fall back on, worshiping Allah. Please raise your voice, brothers, so the sisters can hear.
It's along the same lines as was just saying. It's a mercy. It's not like a chore. It's a mercy. The prayer itself. To get
Allah, brother saying it's not a chore. It's a mercy. Very good. Yes, sir.
This is a question I asked you. I just want to kind of a little bit rephrase it. Just
Okay.
kind of tell you the premise of it. This basically the premise is that what is humor for Him in creating us? Like, why did He create us? Like, why did He need to create us? Like, for enjoyment or suffer love?
Right.
Why did He create us?
So why did Allah then create us?
I don't know, but could you answer the question is, we're created. That's the fact. Where do we go from here? Not.
Oh.
What if we're not created?
Where did you get that from?
I could have gotten it from your CD.
Oh. Every time you quote something exactly like I said, I'm like, hey, because you could have thought of it, right? It's not like I made up every argument. So, excellent, very nice. So the brother is saying, sometimes, what if someone keeps pushing it with the whys? Why should we pray? Allah commands in the Quran. Why? You explain. Why? You explain. Why? You explain. Why? You explain. When you run out of explanations, now what are you going to do? You're going to fire back at him. You're going to say, look, this is what's going on. This is the situation. What are you going to do about it? That's the question. What are you going to do about it? We're here, and we don't know all the whys, But Allah is there and we're here. What are you going to do about it? That's it. You bring it back to the da'wah. But okay, let's push it with the wise until we have to stop. Someone else. Someone new. Ahmed.
He's the creator. He creates.
Okay. No, by the way, please don't quote this hadith. It's not authentic. A lot of times I'll ask that question and someone will put his hand up. Now? I'm going to say it now. They'll say that كنت كنزا لا أعرف أردت أن أعرف فخلقت الخلق فعرفتهم بي فعبدوني, something like that. Basically it says I was a treasure that was not known. I wanted to be known, so I created people to worship. And it's just not authentic. Don't use it. But as some scholars say that Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal is so magnificent and so great that He is deserving of being worshipped, deserving of being appreciated. And that's why we look at the numbers of angels, the phenomenal numbers of angels, and they're constantly worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala non-stop. They don't stop to eat or drink or talk. Non-stop, some of them, since Allah created them, and Allah knows how long that has been. They've been in non-stop worship until the Day of Judgment. And when the Day of Judgment comes, they will say, "Oh Allah, we haven't worshipped you enough." And you know the hadith of the Atat al-Sama, where in the hands, and the Prophet said, the heavens have creaked. Rightfully so that they did creak. So we're talking about the heavens, the 7 heavens. Not just, our all of space and everything that's within the first heaven, the worldly heaven. So this is just the size of the first heaven, and then the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth, and the seventh. And their vast size, Prophet said they creaked from the weight on them. It is rightfully so that they did creak, for there is not a handspan, just from here to there, there's an angel standing, or bowing, or prostrating in prayer. So here, in just this room, you fill every handspan, there's a person here. What if we fill this whole city? Every handspan is someone. What if we fill the whole continent, the whole planet? We're talking the 7 heavens. Loaded with angels, constantly standing either bowing or prostrating or standing in prayer. Prophet said they have been doing so ever since Allah created them, and they will continue to do so, quality and quantity, until the trumpet or horn is sound on the Day of Judgment. They will say, "Oh Allah, we have not worshipped you enough." All this, so far be it from us to pray and then feel arrogant, "I'll just pray to Allah." No. That's why the Prophet taught us to say Astaghfirullah. First thing you do after Salah, Astaghfirullah 3 times. Why? You're saying this Salah that I just completed is not befitting the majesty of Allah, the greatness of Allah. These angels have been worshipping this excellent quality. They don't think of anything else. And they will say, "We haven't worshipped you enough, Ya Allah." So Allah Azza wa Jalla is so great and so magnificent that He's deserving of being worshipped, deserving of being recognized. And some people try to explain just like when they say, like when you have, let's say, for the sake of an example, and it's not a comparison to Allah Azza wa Jalla, like when you have some like vintage or let's say classical car that's in superb condition, like very oldie, but it's in excellent condition. And if it's in your garage constantly, it's not appreciated, right? So that's why they have these events when they bring them, just so people can come, the public can come and look at these cars and stare inside, so they can be appreciated. Yeah? Some scholars tell you then, some of the attributes of Allah will be manifested when there is a creation. Like for example, the rahmah of Allah, it will be manifested, meaning applied, when there is a creation to show the rahmah to. The khalq, it will be manifested when there is a creation to create, and so on and so forth, and the wisdoms and all these other things. So you explain it like that. If they keep pushing it with the wise, and you're going to run out of explanation, then you turn it back on them. So, well, you know what? Now we've reached the point where my knowledge is limited, and you can't expect any human being on earth anyways to go that far into knowledge. The question now is, it's the truth. Allah exists and you're here. What are you going to do about it? Just now get back to your da'wah again. Don't always take the position of you ask, I answer, you ask, I answer. Yes, sister?